Before my first trip to Israel, numerous friends had told me Masada would be my favorite stop. It's Israel's Alamo, they would say. It's a starkly beautiful place overlooking the Dead Sea. The innovative architecture made it all but impenetrable. And yes, there are striking parallels to the battles that occurred there and at the Alamo. But for those of us looking back at both, the differences are even more important. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan with a reflection on life and liberty. Masada was a remote, massive fortress built by Herod the Great. It was designed to sustain its occupants for a long time, even in the face of an entrenched enemy surrounding it. On the surface, the comparison to the Alamo isn't completely wrong. Masada saw the vastly outnumbered good guys hold out against superior forces. And of course, all the good guys in both stories eventually died. Similar, but you have to do a lot of squinting to make Masada into the Alamo. Where the Alamo came at the beginning of Texas' War of Independence, Masada was the final blow to the Jewish Great Revolt of AD 66 to 73. The Jewish zealots dreamed of political independence from the Romans. They'd been fighting for 6 years when Masada became their last stand. Built on the top of a plateau similar to an American mesa, nearly 1,000 Jews were able to hold out against 15,000 Roman forces. Over several months, the Roman engineers built a massive siege ramp, which they used to march up to Masada's walls. The ramp is still there, and the outlines of the legionnaire camps are still visible. But one difference is the most important between the Alamo and Masada. While the Texans at the Alamo fought the advancing Mexicans to the death, the Jewish rebels took their own lives before the Romans could enter their compound. The Roman historian Josephus wrote that the zealots preferred to take their own lives rather than be captured and paraded around as a conquered people. One group became a footnote in the history of Roman conquest, while the other inspired and mobilized a people to defeat what was the greatest military power in their hemisphere. By choosing suicide at Masada, the Jewish zealots spared themselves the personal embarrassment of being conquered, but that did little good for their fellow countrymen left suffering under the Roman yoke. For those zealots, death was not a sacrifice made for the benefit of others. It was a prideful way out. In choosing to fight, knowing their death was all but inevitable, the Alamo defenders hoped to inspire their countrymen to fight a tyrannical and murderous regime. They sacrificed themselves for the cause of liberty, for the cause of others. The lesson from Masada and the Alamo is that our obligation isn't to be victorious, but to be faithful. Despite the odds, despite the peril, despite the risk, we must keep fighting. The fight matters. We must fight on. If you liked the message today, please do me a favor, rate the podcast and leave me a review. The Reflections Podcast is presented by Texas Scorecard and produced by Nick Shepard. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Thanks for listening.